I welcome all the students. Today we are going to learn the last point of the visible surface detection that we are talking about is principles of animation. Okay. In all previous session, we have covered the points up to this. We have started learning in the previous session introduction to animation and the traditional animation technique. So our today's point of discussion that we are going to start learning is principles of animation. Okay, so we are in the topic of animation. Let us start learning principles of animation. Okay, so I'm just moving to the next slide. Okay, so the heading is principles of animation. Now, the 12 basic principles of animation. So the Disney has evolved, or they have put up the 12 basic principles of animation were introduced by the Disney animator, okay, Ori Johnson and Frank Thomas in their 1981 book, The Illusion of Life, the Disney Animation. Okay, so all these 12 principles, okay, which are proposed by the Disney studio, we are going to learn, okay, which are applicable for the animation, and nowadays these are the principles which are used, okay, in the animation. Okay. The principles, so all these 12 principles are based on the work the Disney animator from the 1930 onwards and their quest to produce more realistic animation. I think they have started this process from 1930s, okay, and with the experience of more than 50-60 years, in 1981 they have in a position to come up with the which will be the 12 basic principles of the animation, okay, and that experience has helped to find out all these principles of the animation. Okay, the main purpose of these principles is, so why we are learning, why they have came up with these 12 principles. Okay, so the main purpose of these principles was to produce an illusion that cartoon characters adhere to the basic laws of the physics. Okay, so through animation, okay, they are going to design the cartoon characters, and the animation of these cartoon characters should adhere or should follow the basic laws of physics, but they also dealt with more abstract issues such as emotional timing and the character should appeal. So whatever the cartoon animation which are presented by the Disney, it should be appealing to the users or the end user, those who are watching it. Okay, so they will try to add the emotional timing into it. Okay, the character that they are going to design. So the main purpose to have the impact on the end user, those are going to watch this animation. Okay, so some explanations of all these things are available in the textbook or different books also. Okay, but I have referred the taken this, okay, so many things related to the Wikipedia, which will have more good explanation. Okay, so the point to be noted here is this 12 basic principles of animation was designed or proposed by the Disney in 1981, and nowadays everyone will start using these principles of animation. Okay, and it will create the illusion, and you can find that the animation will become the realistic. Okay, so the main purpose is the user will feel the realistic motion picture or the character in the cartoon, whatever we are object we are presenting, it should appeal to the end user. That was the purpose. Okay, let us move to the next slide to start learning all these 12 basic principles of animation. Okay, so the first principle that we are having here is the squash and stretch. Okay, so the first principle that we are having, the purpose is, or the name is squash and stretch. The purpose of squash and stretch is to give a sense of weight and flexibility to draw the object. Okay, so whenever we are drawing any object, okay, so we want to give the sense of weight, appropriate weight, and the flexibility of the motion to that particular object. It can be applied to simple objects like a bouncing ball or more complex construction like the musculature of the human face. Okay, so whenever we are talking about, I want to show the different facial, okay, or the human face, okay, or different, we can see it as the emotions of the human face. There it is applicable, but it is basically for the simple object also that squash and stretch should be given. Okay, for example, like a bouncing ball. Okay, we are going to see the example of this bouncing ball also. Now, taken to an extreme, a figure stretch or squash to an exaggerated degree can have a comical effect. Okay, so you can find that the cartoons in the animation or the objects in the animation, they are stretched. Okay, so they're to show any emotions. Okay, their faces will be stretched, the object is stretched. Okay, if you are, okay, just going to see the Mickey and Mouse, you can find so many times they have applied the purpose of the squash and stretch to that particular object. Okay, but that stretch should not be so much exaggerated. So we should not stretch that particular object or the body of the object in such a way that that object will look like as a comical object. Okay, or it should not be considered as one of the another cartoon object. Okay, so it should not happen. So we should apply the stretch and squash, but it should not be exaggerated. Okay, so that means we are considering, so in the scratch and stretch. Okay, in the realist animation, okay, however, the most important aspect of this principle is that an object's volume does not change when scratch or stretch. Okay, so the volume of the object should not be changed. Okay, whenever we are going to go for the scratch and stretch, but it should be look as a realistic image. It should be applied as one of the realistic principle of the image, so that everyone can have a feeling of it. Okay, so let us understand this with the help of the one example also. Before that, we consider one point. We are considering the example of a ball. Okay, so if the length of ball is stretched vertically, okay, if length of ball we are going to stretch vertically, its width in the three dimension, also its depth need to be contract correspondingly horizontally. So if I'm showing that I'm going to stretch the length of the ball vertically, okay, I'm just going to stretch that board vertically, then accordingly its width in the three dimension, that is the depth as well as, okay, it should be horizontally also. So we should be in a position to show its effect with the in the horizontal way also. So let us understand this concept with the help of a diagram. So I want everyone to concentrate on the diagram. Let us understand the diagram. So this is what our point number one of the discussion that we are considering. First principle of animation is squash and stretch. Okay, so I'm showing the diagram with you. Okay, now you can look at the diagram number A and diagram number B. This is diagram A, this is diagram B. Now here you can find, actually I'm finding that I'm just going to throw the ball. The ball is going to hit over here at this floor. I consider this at this floor, the ball is going to hit, and here again it is going to bounce. Okay, so ball is thrown in this direction. Okay, then it is going to, at this particular surface, again it is going to bounce and it will be moving in this particular direction. So that is what we want to show in the animation. Okay, now you can find here whatever is shown here, okay, in diagram number A, I call it is not at all realistic. Okay, why it is not realistic? So there is no stretch or the squash principle is applied. Okay, now you can find here, you may come to know that the speed of the ball is very high at this particular. So the diagram B indicate that how it will be look like whenever I'm applying the squash and stretch. Okay, so here you can find the motion of this two ball is little bit fast. When it is approaches to the ground, the motion is getting slow. Getting me? And you can find here this ball is stretched at vertically. It is not exactly of the same shape. Okay, and again it is moving into this direction. Here it is slow. Okay, again it is moving, and here it will be the speed of the object may again going to increase or the far. So this indicate, the diagram B indicate the correct way of showing the bouncing ball motion. Okay, this is the very normal. This will not give me the correct effect, okay, of the movement of the bouncing ball. Okay, so I'm just have explanation of this also. So what we are considering, a rigid non-dynamic movement of a ball is compared to a squash at impact and the stretch during the fall after the bounce. Okay, so definitely after the bound it is has stretch. You can find it here. I cannot apply the exact object, okay, because there is a change of the object, movement of the object. The object is stretched, you can find here. Here it is the exactly goal, or we can say it is exact circle. Correct thing is there, no issue. But here it is stretch. Here also it is stretch. Okay, and after it is bouncing, also the ball moves slow, less in the beginning and end. So here movement of the ball is fast, but here the movement of ball is slow. Here again at the end it will be fast. Okay, in the middle, and slow out principle is there also used. So all this thing we are going to work on it. It is going to show whenever we are going to show the movement of any object. Okay, and this is what our first principle of the animation, that is squash and stretch. Okay, so let us move to the second principle or understanding of the second principle of animation. See, the second principle is called as the anticipation. Okay, so what is the number two is anticipation. It is used to prepare the audience for an action. Okay, so we have to prepare the audience for an action. Anticipation is required, and to make the action appear more realistic. Okay, so that's why the term is used as a, or the principle is used as a anticipation. Now, a dancer jumping off the floor has to bend the knees first. Okay, or golfer making the swing has to swing the club back first. Okay, so we have to show the golfer is making a swing and throwing the ball, or suppose we are considering that a dancer is jumping off the floor. Okay, so it has to bend the knee first. You can find some dancer is jumping off the floor. Okay, I cannot show, I show that in the some of the stages the knee is bent first and then it is landing down on the surface or the floor. Okay, so before taking the action, okay, we have to prepare the audience. Okay, that bending of knee will prepare the audience that yes, now this is going to jump off the floor. Okay, so we have to prepare the audience. Okay, so that's why to, so that action, that previous thing will help them that now this person is going to take this particular action, and that is what is called as the anticipation. So this is the second principle of animation called as anticipation. Now the technique can also be used for the less physical action, such as the character looking off screen to anticipate someone's arrival. Okay, now see here what this indicate that, suppose I want to show that some person has appeared. Okay, so some person is coming in the screen. So before that person come, I'm showing that yes, one of the character is looking toward the door. Okay, and it is waiting for some person and the person has arrived. I will not show directly the person has arrived. Okay, so this is called as anticipation. So we prepare the audience before I want to show any action. Before that I want to prepare that particular audience. Okay, so I'm going to prepare the audience with some of the frames or the some of the things, and that is called as anticipation. Or attention focusing on an object that character is about to pick up. Okay, so we want that we should focus on that particular object, where the character is going to pick up that particular object or going to consider that particular object, and this is what is known as the anticipation. Okay, so this is what our second thing that we are going to learn as anticipation. So this, the second principle is anticipation, and now we are going to see that with the help of the diagram also what is the meaning of this, how we are going to anticipate, how we can perform the prepare the audience for the action. Okay, now here you can find it here on all these slides you can find. So see, this frame indicate that yes, this particular golfer is now ready to throw the ball. Okay, so again we are having this particular action. So again we are going to show this action, and then finally we can show this action is, it is true. So I'm having this, these are the different frames. Okay, now here you can find the golfer before throwing it. I think his leg, the part of the leg is up. Okay, now that will help the user or the end user to have a feeling yes, now it is going to throw the ball. Okay, so all these are the actions that we are having. So this will be shows the whatever we have showing in this particular frame is indicate that this is what the anticipation. Okay, so let us understand the same thing is written. I have putting it over here. A baseball player making a pitch prepares for the action by bending his arm back. So here you can find that this action is moving this leg, taking his arms back. Okay, and then it is going to throw. So now these two frames, definitely will help to know the audience that yes, now this golfer is going to throw the ball. Okay, and this is what our expected aim of the use of the second principle, that is we call it as the anticipation. So we have prepare the audience to have action, to understand the action. Okay, I think this diagram, and that will definitely help you to understand what is the meaning of the second principle. We call it as the anticipation. Okay, let us move to the next principle that we are going to learn. The third principle that we are having is stagging. Okay, so we are considering the third principle is stagging. You know what is meant by stagging? So the principle is akin to stagging as it is known in the theater and film. So this word is coming from the theater and the film, stagging. What is the purpose? Its purpose is to direct the audience attention and make it clear what is of the greatest importance in a scene. That is called as the stagging. Okay, the purpose is to direct the audience attention. Suppose in my scene or in my object, okay, I'm having 3 4 objects are there in the screen. Okay, but my focus, I want to make it on the one object. Okay, I want to make the focus on one object. Okay, so it should make it clear that what is the greatest importance in the scene. So there may be so many objects, there may be so many things, so I want that the focus should be of the user, focus should go to that particular character, to that particular object. Okay, and doing this is known as the stacking. I think I just give the simple example. This may achieve with the help of changing the color and combination, okay, of the object, maybe the dressing that they are having. You can find in a song, okay, where there are so many persons are dancing, okay, in a song, but you can find that all the background persons are having the color which is light or which not be attractive. Okay, but whereas the, we can say the dressing material or the color combination, okay, of the clothes weared by the actor and actress, it will be something different that should going to attract the audience. So our focus should goes to that particular scene. So we have to show that in the scene what is important, what is of the more importance that we have to show. Okay, and that is known as the stacking. Now Johnson and Thomas define it as the presentation of any idea so that it is completely and unmistakably clear. Okay, so whatever I want to present, okay, suppose I want that the in an hotel or in the restaurant someone is, okay, taking the lunch or eating something, and while they are eating I want to focus that okay, they are eating this particular food, so I want to have a focus goes directly to that food, so that if I want to make which is clear, I don't want to show the food is important. Okay, don't want to show the food is important. I want to show only the actor is eating something. At that time, the focus will not be on the food. The focus will be on the that particular actor. Okay, and just we are showing that he's eating something. Okay, the focus will be completely different. So on which we want to focus, that is very important. Whether that idea is an action, whether the idea is an personality or it is an expression or it is a mood, so we should present it appropriately, and that is known as the stagging. So in the scene we have to have a color combination, we have to focus should be given in such a way that whatever I want to show which is important, that should be displayed appropriately, that should be added appropriately. Okay, so that is known as the tagging. This can be done by various means such as the placement of a character in the frame. Okay, so as I told, suppose I want to have a more focus on that character, I think I may have the color combination, or I will use the light and the shadows. Okay, or I will use the different angle, and I will use the change the position of the camera in such a way that that particular object will be focused, that particular object will be concentrated, okay, in my that particular scene. And this is what something which is known as, which this term is used, okay, or came from the theater and the film, and they call it as the stagging. Okay, I think I have just now given the example is, okay, in the song the actor and actress I want to focus, okay, while they are dancing, you can find that all the background, all the persons who are, okay, supporting them in the back, okay, or at the which are near to them, they may have different color combination. Okay, but the actor and actress, they are having some different color combination, they are having more focus, more light will be given on them, so that, okay, the attention of the audience will be focused on whichever I want to show, or which is the important in the scene that I want to focus. Okay, so that is what is called as the stagging. Okay, the method is known as stagging. The essence of this principle is keeping focus on what is relevant and avoiding unnecessary details. Okay, I don't want to avoid, I want to avoid unnecessary details. I want to keep focus on the what is relevant. So you can find in my lecture also, my background of this slide is white. So sure, if I'm having so much dark color of the slide, I think your focus will be more on the color of the background of the slide. Okay, so it will be faint. It is only white. Here, the color of this point is different. Okay, so I want to focus that. Yes, this is my point of importance. Okay, that's why whenever I'm having the point of, I'm going to underline it. Okay, so I want to focus it. So similar kind of technique which are used in animation are known as the stagging. So this is our third concept or the third principle known as the stagging. Okay, so let us move to the next principle now. So the fourth principle of animation is straight ahead action. Okay, straight ahead action. Now, these are the two different approaches to the drawing process. Okay, so whenever we are drawing the motion object or the picture, there are the showing so many different frames. There are the two methods. One is known as straight ahead action, and another is known as pose to pose. Okay, so these are the two methods. Now, out of that, what is the straight ahead action indicate? The straight ahead action scenes are animated frame by frame from beginning to end. Okay, so in straight ahead action, I'm going to have all the scenes are animated frame by frame. Means I'm having all the frames from the beginning to the end of the action. Okay, so starting action to the end action. So I want to show that that particular actor is running, okay, or it may be jumping or doing anything. That was my action. So I will have the frames from the beginning to the end of the action. Okay, whereas there is another method called as pose to pose, involves starting with drawing a few keyframes and then filling in the interval later. Means in some of the cases, generally what happens, I will show initially the person is running. Okay, initial beginning frames, I'm having some keyframes. In between, I will not fill it with the interval frames. Okay, so other frames are just to show that movement. And end again, I will have the frame. Okay, so in that case, it will be pose to pose. So I'm showing static action, it is started running. In between, okay, I will fill this with the some different frames. Okay, so not each and every frame, or there may be the gap of the frame, and end again I will show that it is there. Okay, but here in the straight ahead action, it is expected that we are going to animate by frame by frame. I'm considering all the frames are there because I'm having 10 frames to show the running of the object from one position to another position. Suppose I require 10 frames, so I will have the start beginning frame, next frame, and up to all 10 frames are there. Straight ahead action. In pose to pose, I may have initially out of 10 only 1, 2, 3. First 2, 3 frames are there. In between, I will fill there is a filler of the frames, and at the end again I will add 2, 3 frames. Okay, and that is called as pose to pose involvement. Okay, or pose to pose method or the approach. Okay. Now straight ahead action, if I use straight ahead action, creates a more fluid dynamic illusion of the movement and is better for producing realistic action sequences. Okay, so if I'm going to go for the straight ahead action where I have the frame by frame from beginning to the end of the action. Okay, suppose I want to show that the object is falling at very higher end and now it is falling down. Okay, maybe in the river, it is falling into the river. So I will have all the frames in between, starting position in between all the step by step to the end. So that will be my straight ahead action. If I'm happy, I consider all the frames, then it is going to create more fluid and dynamic illusion movement, and it will be produce realistic action sequences. Okay, so it will produce the realistic action sequence. So it is better to go for the straight ahead action, but in some of the application we can also use the pose to pose. In the pose to pose, I am having the initial few frames, then the filler, and again I will just have the frame created at the end. Okay, so in between that action I will not show the frames. Okay, so that will be my pose to pose, but it is better to go for straight ahead action which will have the produce the realistic action sequences. Okay, on the other hand, now I am talking about pose to pose, it is hard to maintain proportion and create exact convincing poses along the way. Okay, so in some of the cases it will be difficult. I want to show that the actor is going to, I think I say it is has a kick off some person. Okay, so at that time it is some of the cases it will be difficult. The movement I may have the start movement. Okay, he is just moving his leg. Okay, kicking the person. Okay, and after that I just directly show that the person, okay, another person is now have thrown somewhere. Okay, it is has moved to the, okay, or it is falling down and so on. Okay, so it depends, okay, what type of application we are having, so we can go with it. Now here we are just considering where the pose to pose is applicable, where it will be useful. Pose to pose works better for dramatic or emotional scenes where the composition and relation to the corresponding are of greater importance. Means the post pose will work for the dramatic scene or the emotional scenes are there, then it will be okay. Okay, I will not show all the frames. Okay, but in the action, if I want to show some action, it is better to go for the straight ahead action. So due to this, generally in my animation, I'm going to use the combination of both. Okay, a combination of the two techniques. Okay, so combination of straight ahead action and along with the pose to pose is often used in the computer animation. Okay, so it depends upon the what type of application we are having, what type of action we are having. Okay, if it is more dramatical, emotional action is there, better to go for pose to pose. Okay, such things are not there. It is better to go for the straight ahead action where we are going to animate the frame by frame from beginning of the action to the end of the action. Okay, so that is what my straight ahead action. Okay, so let us understand the fifth animation technique that we are having. Okay, so that is follow through and overlapping. Okay, so follow through and overlapping. Now follow through, I think this the word itself will indicate what is the meaning of this. The follow through and overlapping action is general heading for two closely related techniques which help to render movement more realistically and help to give the impression that the character follow the laws of physics, including the principles of inertia. Okay, so that is what the follow through and overlapping. Now here the follow through means that the loosely tied part of the body should continue moving after the character has stopped, and the part should keep, though the after running I cannot show that some person is running, some person is driving the horse, driving the car. Okay, or it is running. Normal case is if it is the person is running, I should not show that at the end it will stop abruptly. Okay, though it is stopped, the movement of his action will be continue. Okay, hands will be moved, the legs will be moved little bit. Okay, though it is, I cannot show abruptly the person is stopped after running. Okay, so that is what we are considering the follow through. So we should give the follow through. Follow through means that the loosely tied parts, maybe the hand, maybe the head, maybe the legs, okay, the parts of the body should continue moving after the character has stopped, and the parts should keep moving beyond the point where the character stopped, only to be subsequently pulled back towards the center of the mass and exhibiting various degrees of the oscillation damping. Okay, just now I think I have explained with this example. Okay, like the person is running, the actor is running, and it will stop. Okay, I cannot show that it will be stopped abruptly. Though it is stopped, his rigid body will be stopped, but there should be the movement of the hand, head will move further, okay, the legs will move further, and slowly it will be stopped. Okay, so that is follow through should be, we should in a position to show the follow through. Okay, and now overlapping action. Now here that I'm considering, the overlapping action is the tendency of the part of the body to move at different rates. The arm will move on a different timing of the head and so on. And a third is related technique is drag, where the character starts to move and parts of them take a few frames to catch up. Okay, I think this explanation will very much clear to you. I think whenever I'm showing any action, I should show the follow through of the action as well as the frames are overlapping. Okay, I want to come back to the previous one, overlap the same action. Okay, so it will be a continuous process. The same frames will be repeated a number of times to, that is called as overlapping, and we should have the follow up of this. Okay. Now to understand this point, I think I'm having one simple animation, okay, to show it to you to understand the follow through and the overlapping action. So let us move to the next slide so that everyone will easily understand what is meant by the follow through and overlapping. Now you can find it here. Okay. Now you can find, I think this is, though I have showing it on the PPT, here you can find the frames number. Okay, here you can find name of the frame. Frame number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is moving. Again, the same frame is repeated, so it is overlapping is there, and there is a follow through. Okay, you can find that the same frames are repeated, okay, but you will have the feeling that the person is driving the horse. It's the same thing, so that's why I'm having this number over here. I told to concentrate over here. So the frame number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it is moving up to 16. Again it will come back to 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is overlapping, and we are having the follow through also for this action. So I think that this particular animation clearly shows you the meaning of or the importance of the follow through and overlapping. See, the follow through and overlapping action. So this is the example of follow through and overlapping action. Okay, the galloping race horses, okay, mane and tail follow the body. So you can find that they are going to this tail of this as well as the head. It is going to follow through is there. You can find, okay, yes, it is the way it shows the movement. This also shows the legs are also follow through. So sequence of photos which are taken and which will be animated. Okay, and that is will clearly make you the concept of clear understanding of follow through and overlapping action. Okay, so let us move to the next point. Let us start understanding the next principle now. Okay, that is slow in and slow out. Okay, I think we have seen this particular thing for a dancing ball. Okay, or that the bouncing ball also. When we are going to throw the ball, okay, so we can find that initially the movement of the ball or whenever it is going to hit the floor, okay, the movement of the ball will be slow. When it is out, it is slow, but initially and end it may be fast. Okay, and that is what we know as slow and slow out. The movement of object in the real world, such as the human body, animals, vehicles, etc., need time to accelerate and slow down. So though I'm going to start the car, I think initially it will have the slow in motion, then it will be very fast. Again, when it is going to stop, again it is going to slow the motion down. Okay, so that principle is known as slow in and slow out. Okay, so all the human body, animals, vehicle need some time to accelerate. Okay, so that's why we are having initially and end, it should be slow down. For this reason, more pictures are drawn near the beginning and end of the action. More pictures are drawn in the near the beginning and at the end of the action, creating a slow in and slow out effect in order to achieve more realistic movement. Okay, so more frames are added at the beginning, more frames are added at the end to have the slow in and slow out effect in order to achieve the more realistic movement. Okay, this concept emphasizes the object extreme poses. Inversely, fewer pictures are drawn within the middle of the animation to emphasize the faster action. So, though I'm having the few images in between, which will may anticipate the fast action. So, in between, it is faster. Initially, it is slow. At the end, it is again slow. Okay, and that is what we call it as the slow in and slow out. This principle applies to the characters moving between two extreme poses, such as sitting down and standing up, but also for the inanimate. Okay, the principle applies to the characters moving between two extreme poses. So means initially I want to show the person is sitting down and immediately it is standing up. So in between, so it may be this process will be there that we have to consider. Moving objects like the bouncing ball, I think we have seen at the initial principle in the movement that we have shown. Okay, let us understand and move to the next principle now. So that we call it as the earth. Now here, the most natural action tends to follow an earth trajectory, and animation should adhere to the principle by following the implied earth for a greater realism. This techniques can be applied to a moving limb by rotating a joint or a thrown the object moving along a parabolic trajectory just to show the movement. Now, what this arc means is, now suppose I want to show this is my one of the movement, this is my one of the object, okay, or maybe the ball that I'm having. Along with this, I will have some earth, some movement is there, okay, which will show that it is moving in this direction. It is just moving into from this to this side. Okay, so that we have to consider. Okay, and that is my principle number 7. The exception in mechanical movement, which typically moves in the straight line. So I mean, it should not have always a straight line. Okay, but my line should have the earth. Okay, it should not be drawn as a straight line. Okay, as an object speed or momentum increases, okay, object speed and momentum increases, earths tend to flatten out in moving ahead and broaden in turns. Okay, in baseball, the fast ball could tend to move in a straighter line than other pitches. Okay, so if it is a baseball is fast ball is there, okay, then instead of baseball we are having the fast ball, it tend to move in a straighter line than pitches, while the figure skater moving at top speed would be unable to turn as sharply as the slower skater, and we should, okay, need to cover more ground to complete the run or the turn. So here I think whatever the diagram or the object I am having, it should not drawn with a straight line, but it's have the earth just show that particular movement. And this is my principle number 7. An object in motion that moves out of its natural earth, I think this is very important. An object is motion that moves out of its natural earth for no apparent reason will appear erratic rather than the fluid. Means it should not happen that, okay, I should use the natural earth are there if I'm going to draw any object. Okay, avoid the exact straight line, and that is my principle number 7. Okay, so let us move to the principle number 8 that we are having, the secondary action. I think this is the name itself will indicate how important it is. Secondary action. Adding secondary action to the main action gives a scene more life and can help to support the main action. So you can observe this whenever you are observing any cartoon or any film. Okay, the secondary action is added. Okay, and that secondary action will be in support to the main action, okay, of the scene, and that will help to support the main action. For example, a person is walking can simultaneously swing their arms or keep them in their pockets, speak or whistle or express emotion through the facial expression. So means now we are not showing that only the person is walking. Along with the walking, okay, that person may be speaking. So that is speaking is secondary action. Main action is the person is walking. Okay, but along the walking it is speaking also, or along walking it is having putting his hand in the pocket. Okay, maybe he's just showing his different emotions, actions, facial expression. This facial expression, all this is my secondary action added to the main action of walking. Okay, maybe suppose I found that the person is jumping from a very, we can have say as a, okay, from the top. Okay, the height is very high or it is more. Okay, then his facial expression generally it has, yes, it will have some fear. Okay, so it may have that fear will be shown on this, so that is additional secondary action I'm adding to the main action to show that the person is falling from that particular position. Okay, so this is what we have to add, the secondary action which will help or support to my initial action. So the important thing about secondary action is that they emphasizes rather than take attention away from the main action. Okay, so main action will be running, main action will be the person is falling, okay, or the person is walking, that is my main action, but it will not move completely out of it, secondary action if I add, but that should support, it should not see that the secondary action will be important. Okay, so we add secondary action in such a way that it will support to my first action or the main action. Okay, that is what the point. If the latter is the case, those actions should be left out. Okay, it should not happen. I'm adding the secondary action, and the more focus will go to the secondary action. Okay, so that should be avoided. Okay, so that is what we are considering. For example, during a dramatic movement, the facial expression will often go unnoticed. In this case, it is better to include them at the beginning or at the end of the movement. I cannot show continuous movement. At initially, I show that the person is laughing. Yes, and then I will, after the whatever the part I'm having at the end, I will add that again it is laughing. Okay, in between it is not noticed. Okay, so rather than during the animator tend to draw the earth in lightly on the paper of the reference to be erased later. Okay, so this is, I think the point will be very much clear. Okay, to support main action we have to add the secondary action. Okay, and that is what the eighth principle of my animation. Okay, My ninth principle of my animation is timing. Okay, everyone knows about the timing. The timing is very, very important in animation. Timing refers to the number of drawings or frames for a given action which translate to the speed of the action or the film. Okay, so it should translate, it will show me the speed of the action is in the film, and that timing is very important. On purely physical level, correct timing makes object appear to obey the laws of the physics. Okay, so I should add correct timing is very important. For instance, just consider an example: an object's weight determines how it reacts to an impetus, like a push. Okay, so I want to show the action is pushing, but the object is lightweight, it will react faster. The object is heavyweight, I think though I'm pushing it, it will be move very slow. Okay, so that timing is very important, and that timing depend upon the weight of the object. Okay, I must concentrate on the weight of the object. So as a lightweight object will react faster rather than the heavily weighted one, so that timing will be very important. Okay, so if the object is very small, it will be moving very fast. Okay, if the object is heavyweight, I think though it is falling down, okay, it should be shown that it will take some time. Okay, so that's why I say the timing of that action is very important. Timing is critical for establishing a character's mood, emotion, and reaction. It can also be devised to communication aspect of the character personality. I think that's why I think I should not focus more on it. Everyone knows the importance of the timing in the animation and the any cartoon film. Okay, so let us move to the 10th principles of animation. So my 10th principle of animation is exaggeration. Okay, I think this is very important. Okay, exaggeration. Okay, I should not stretch the things at very higher level. It should not be seen that it is very exaggerated. Okay, I should not see that. So exaggeration is an effect especially useful for animation, as animated motion that strive for a perfect imitation of the reality can look static and dull. Okay, so I want to put some more exaggerated. Okay, I want to show that the person is crying, but I want to show that person is crying very high. Okay, that crying motion I want to focus more. So in more exaggeration I will show that, okay, the drops of water that is moving from his eyes are very fast. Okay, very fast moving of the, or dropping of the water indicate that it is I consider that it is exaggerated. Okay, that crying is very high. Okay, it is not crying at a low, okay, or slow crying. Okay, so it should be exaggerated. If it depends upon how much impact I want to put on that particular object. Okay, the level of exaggeration depends on whether one seeks realism or particular style, like a caricature or style of the specific artist. Okay, so that we have to consider. The classical definition of exaggeration employed by the Disney was to remain true to the reality. I think this is very important. Okay, remain true to reality, just presenting it in a wilder or more extreme form. It should not be so much exaggerated. Okay, so other form of exaggeration can involve the supernatural or serenal alteration in the physical features of a character or elements in a storyline itself. See, it is important to employ a certain level of restraint when using the exaggeration. If a scene contains several elements, there should be a balance in how these elements are exaggerated in the relation. So I think this is one of the good feature, but we should take care that it should not be more exaggerated. Okay, we should remain to the reality of the exaggeration, and that is what this point indicate. This is my 10th principle of my 10th principle of animation, that is exaggeration. Okay, let us move to the 11th principle. Okay, I think just now I have seen this in relation to each other to avoid confusing and overdrawing of the viewer. So as I said, there should not be more exaggeration. Okay, that will going to focus or move the, okay, overdraw to the viewer. Okay, they should not feel that it will be more exaggerated. Okay, so it should be used very carefully. So the principle number 11 is solid drawing. Okay, now here the solid drawing means we should draw that particular actor or the cartoon on paper. Okay, we should consider the three-dimensional view. I'm just reading this point. The principle of solid drawing means taking into account forms in three-dimensional space or giving them volume and weight. Okay, so that is what we are considering. Whenever I draw the object, Okay, though it is a cartoon, I say as a cartoon actor, okay, or it may be the cartoon object. Just looking to that particular drawing, I should know that what will be the weight of that particular object. Okay, what is the volume of that particular object in three-dimensional view, I should be considered. The animator needs to be skilled artist. So the artist who is drawing or presenting the actor or cartoon play, and it must be skilled artist and has to understand the basic three-dimensional shapes, anatomy, weight, balance, light, shadow, etc. Okay. Now all these things should be taken into account by the artist, and once it will ready with this the three-dimensional view of the character or that particular object, then we can go for the animation. Okay. Now for the classical animator, this involved taking art classes and doing sketches from the life. One thing is particular that the Johnson and Thomas won against was creating the twins character whose left and right side mirrored each other and looked lifeless. Okay, so if I want to show the twins, okay, and they showed that say that the characters whose left and right sides are mirrored with each other, okay, and it will be look lifeless. So all this care should be taken. I think this is a very good example that you have shown for the solid drawing, because I want to show the twins. Okay, the object I want creating the twins character. Okay, then the left and right side should be mirrored with each other, and that things we should be considered. In computer animation, I think nowadays, I think this computer animation, I think there will be less work to the skilled artist now, because modern day computer animator draw the less because of the facility computer gives them. So I think actual drawing will be very less and maximum thing will be handled by the computer. Yet their work benefits greatly from a basic understanding of animation principle and their addition to the basic computer animation. Okay, nowadays I think the work of the artist is reduced. Okay, because the use of the computer and the computer itself will gives them the different, okay, types of the drawing, and generally we are going to prefer this. Okay, so but the solid drawing indicate that solid drawing means on paper, okay, or we should create that particular object. Okay, so suppose I am considering that if I considered the beam as the object, okay, Chuta beam is my object, okay, then it should be considered in all the ways, all the angles. It should be on paper. Okay, we should show and we should consider its three-dimensional space. We should consider the volume. We should consider the weight of this, okay, and so on. Okay, I think you will, when you are watching the cartoons and the animation, you come to know that, okay, this should be drawn initially, okay, on the paper, and we should create it and then it will be animated. Okay, so that we should consider. So the last principle of the animation is it should appeal. Okay, it should appeal to the end user. Appeal in a cartoon character correspond to what could be called charisma in an actor. So whenever we are designing the cartoon, we should see that whether that character is going to appeal to the audience. So that appeal is very important. Okay. So for example, we can say that when they have designed the Mickey and the mouse. Okay, so these are the two characters, or maybe the Bheem is the another character. Okay, we may have the Mowgli, he may be another character. So that character should appeal, okay, in the cartoon. A character who is appealing is not necessarily sympathetic. It may be villains or monster can also be appealing. Okay, not only necessarily the actor, okay, or the main hero should not do it, but it may appeal the villains or the others also appealing. The important thing is that the viewer feel the character is real and interesting. I think this is one of the very important point, okay, in the last principle of animation, that viewer should feel that the character is real. Okay, though they are watching the cartoon, though they are watching the animation, they should feel that the character is real and it is interesting. And that is what the last principle of my animation that we are considering. There are several tricks for making a character connected better with the audience. For likable characters, symmetrical and particularly baby-like face tends to be more effective. Okay, so these are the things that we have given, but actually we have to see that the viewer should feel that the character is real and the character is very interesting. I think that is I consider as a very important point. The last and 12th principle is appeal. A complicated or hard to read face will lack appeal, definitely. Suppose I'm having the character I have drawn is very complicated, it is hard to read, okay, his face is not clear, okay, having so many things, he's wearing so many things, I think it will be, okay, the lack the appeal, okay, that we are considering. Okay, so I consider these are our 12 principles of the animation. Okay, and which are these 12 principles that we have learned. Okay, I just have a review of it. Okay, I will not going to the back slides, but I just want to list these principles of animation, 12 principles of animation which we have learned. I think as I remember, first one is squash and stretch. The second is anticipation. The third I remember is stagging. Okay, the fourth is the stretch ahead action. Okay, the fifth principle is follow through and overlapping. I think we have seen the animation of the person is driving the horse, okay, that we are having. Then sixth one is slow in and slow out. Okay, at the start it is slow in, again it will speed up, and at the end it will be slow out. Seventh is earth. The eighth is secondary action. The ninth animation principle I remember is, I think it is timing. Okay, timing is ninth principle. Tenth principle is exaggeration, but it should not be more exaggerated. That care we should take. The tenth is, I told, exaggeration. 11th is solid drawing, and definitely the 12th and very important principle is it should appeal. The cartoon or the character should appeal. The meaning of appeal is the viewer should feel the character is real and it is interesting. Okay, so I consider this is all about the principle of animation. I think we should thankful to the Disney, okay, who has made all this principle and help everyone whenever they are going for any type of animation. Definitely everyone will consider all these 12 principles of animation. Okay, thank you. I hope all of you have enjoyed the session. Okay, so I end my today's session over here, that is principle of animation. Okay, considering all this 12 principle, last principle is very important, that is appeal. Okay, whatever we are presenting, it should be appeal, means the viewer should feel the character is real and also it is interesting. Okay, so we are going to end our session here. Thank you.